Hello, welcome to the 6th day of November 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video exercise that I do every morning at 5:30 a.m. to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with various challenges and opportunities that I met, how I, how I performed well or performed poorly so that I can learn from either situation. I go over the 8 objectives of my creed and one of the principles, and then I prepare for the coming day. But first, hello to new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. I'm a 61-year-old American living here in the city of Shizuoka, Japan, with my wife. Retired for about a year now, although just recently, last week, began a part-time job. So I guess I'm not fully retired anymore. At least, what do you call it when you're retired but working? But working out of choice rather than necessity, right? It's a different thing. Very different thing. Very different thing. Boy, I just realizing it as I speak it out loud. Sometimes it really helps to talk these things out. Just realized just as I was saying it out loud how different it is, because a lot has changed in the last week. Well, I might get more into that. I'm distilling a lot of it in my mind. Thus, I'm not quite ready to present the ideas fully formed, but maybe I'll share a little bit of it. Anyway, I do talk about sensitive subjects here, like death, so be forewarned. Um, and since this is a live journal entry, I can talk about any subject I want at any length that I like. You're welcome to leave comments and criticisms. I'll read those when I get to the end. Read and respond, that is. And then, and a huge thank you to my viewers and especially my YouTube members and my Patreon supporters. And I have enough members now that it actually appears. I noticed yesterday it appeared on my YouTube channel, a little column identifying the members there. That's really neat. You have to get to a certain number of members before that actually happens. Thank you. It's great to have you part of this. Just as I'm kind of cutting back on the video content, they reach the point that I have enough members to display. Isn't that funny how that works out? I'll talk more about that. All right. My note for yesterday was I do keep a notebook, and writing down what's going on throughout the day, and I do typically journal every day. Although yesterday was interesting. More about that in just a second. Um, for the last 24 hours, I only have one note here. It says a day on the other side, and then in parentheses it says no journal. So what does that mean? Well, yesterday felt like a new type of retired day. Um, I felt like I'm beginning to feel like I've passed through a veil of sorts into another side, being the side of life that is beyond the active and ambitious years of supporting oneself and one's family. It's a little bit scary because over on this side, it's a place where, pardon me, it's a place where it feels like if one isn't careful, one can really begin to fall away. And maybe that's because of the feeling that I'm having as a result of being out of work or not, having retired and being not working for 11 months and then getting back into it and feeling a little bit hard time getting started again. But after a week of it, I can fully feel, I really feel like I'm having classes every day. I'm teaching English now and I'm having classes every day. And I really feel like I'm back. The worker that was in me is returned, fully capable, maybe more so than before because I'm not stressed out the way I was. Um, I'm doing my lessons with ease. Yesterday I had an administrative test. That was interesting. The company that hired me um, wanted to test my Japanese proficiency because what they do is they group their instructors as uh, those who speak English, native English speakers, and then they have a group of native English speakers who can speak Japanese, and that's a that's a skill to have because some English learners are more comfortable if they have a teacher who can at least understand some basic Japanese to have you know what I mean. It's like if you're learning a language and the teacher understands your language, it's a little bit easier if they need to fill in the gaps a little bit, right? So yesterday, I don't think I told you guys I was doing this. I had my normal lessons, and then in the afternoon I had an administrative test. Um, to basically, I met with one of the administrators at the company, and it was like an office meeting, and it was all in Japanese because they were testing my Japanese, and I they gave me I'm stunned. They gave me a rating of an intermediate Japanese speaker. Certainly not advanced. I never thought I would be an intermediate Japanese speaker. She I thought I would be a basic, or even they would say, "Yeah, nice try." Not no, you're not really a Japanese speaker at all. But now my profile at the company says intermediate. I work for a company called Egox, EIGOX, and my profile says intermediate level Japanese. I said, "Well, what do you know?" The Japanese woman who interviewed me, told me that my pronunciation was very good, and she could understand me. And she said, I did great." So that was a real boost of confidence. Yeah. So, but that wasn't the point of it. The point was, for about a week, for the first couple of days, I felt like a fish out of water. Like I've too far gone from the workaday that I'm drifting away. And in a way, I want to drift away, right? I don't want to be a part of that anymore. But in another way, I realize that being capable in that regard, like the old men I see, they're building a house two doors down. They're almost done. It's going to be done this month. They've been working on it since summer, and the various contractors come in and the tradesmen and do their various things. And a lot of them are my age. Some of them are much older, like they're in their late 60s, maybe even early 70s. These are tradesmen that do various things, plumbers and finish work on the house. And now they're starting out landscape. People show up, and I every morning I walk past several times a day to walk the dogs, and I greet the workers there, who are all. It's rare to see a worker that's younger than me. They're all. It seems like a lot of the tradesmen are, which is worrisome for Japan if they're running out of tradesmen, you know, young enough to represent. Anyway, they're going for it, right? I mean, these old guys are still doing it. So I know it's possible if you stay in the game. I don't know if I want to stay in the game, but I don't want to lose whatever it is that is that vitality that comes of being an active tradesman, so to speak, right? Whatever that trade may be. So having this part-time job, just literally an hour a day, might have benefits far beyond um, just a little bit of monetary remuneration. I started this because I have this hurdle to get to the middle of next summer financially without to stay on budget. So that's why I got the job in the first place, was to make sure I had a backup plan. And but now I'm discovering that there's more to it than that. You know, working might keep me more vital and fit than I had imagined. So yesterday, nevertheless, felt like a day on the other side. Even though I was working, even though I had a real, not only did I meet with my students, let me put another candle here. Not only did I meet with my students yesterday, but I had a real administrative test. I met with the office staff as well. It was really interesting to have that experience. No journal. That's the other notice. Is a day on the other side. No journal, and I don't think I've really dwelt on this day on the other side, and I think it's going to recur. It's a theme that's going to come up over and over. Um, like, oh, put out to pasture would be a good way to describe it. That's the kind of the unsettling bit. Feeling like being on the other side of the workaday life. It feels a little bit like being out to pasture, but the idea of being out to pasture as a negative thing is all in the mind, because after all, you're out to pasture. I mean, pretty damn pleasant to be an old horse out to pasture, right? Not have to pull a yoke anymore or do any particular work of any sort, but just enjoy being in the pasture. Uh, different ways to look at it, huh? But the interesting thing was no journal entry yesterday. That was a first. Um, I've been journaling for decades. Um, I have volumes. Well, I typically throw my journals away. Most of my journals from the past have been thrown away. Um, if you told me, if I had told myself when I was 21 when I started journaling that most of my journals would be gone, I would have thought, well, what a waste. I don't see it that way so much now. They were the journals that I had from the past, as though they might contain interesting snippets and news of the past, were vehicles and road marks along the way, which might be interesting to someone, maybe my daughter after I'm gone. But they were really the 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 it was the path that I was treading to get here to write this book because this is my life's work. So having a giant closet full of old books to leave my daughter to weed through rather than just this kind of is a distraction to the point because a lot of that was just me working through the things. Now I do have the Stoic poetry, 4 volumes of Stoic poetry, which are my journals that I've kept in the last roughly 6 or 7 years that are the wind down from writing this book. And I have my other books as well. So I think I've left enough of a corpus of writing behind. Yet to not journal as I did yesterday, and deliberately so. I sat up. I usually get up at 4 a.m. and I spend the hour from 4 o'clock until 5:30 until I do this roughly until before I get up at 4, and it takes me to about 4:20 to you know clean up, get dressed, stuff like that. And by 4:20, I'm sitting on my sofa with my journal in hand and writing, and and then I that takes me about until about 5:20, 5:15. It takes me 45 minutes or so to usually compose my daily journal entry. Yeah, and I sat there yesterday and with the journal in hand, and I made a deliberate decision to not write anything. And it wasn't because I couldn't. I mean, I can write. I've so much practice at it. Just sit and the words come, they flow easily. And I worried that if I stop, they'll stop flowing. But maybe that's okay too. But I just didn't. And I made a deliberate effort. I said, I'm just not going to write today. And maybe tomorrow I'll sleep in for an hour. And I did. I didn't get up at 4. I woke up at 5 this morning. And I'll see how that fits. And I didn't write a journal entry today either. And this is again how it feels like a day on the other side. Oh, part of the interesting thing that happened yesterday too was after the lessons and the administrative work, and I had gone out, I had gone and had lunch with my wife. I spent a very nice deal of time in the garden, um, quietly weeding, very, very much at peace. Um, I listened to a podcast for a little while. My friend Dave Olson, the Uncle Weed on X, he does these very interesting dispatches, the right type of thing to listen to while gardening. And I did it the Japanese way, which is I had the phone in my pocket, and no, there's no one around our garden. There's no houses, so no one can hear. And I had the podcast playing with just enough volume so that I could hear it. And maybe if anybody had walked past the little road by the stream, they could hear voices come. That's how the Japanese old people do it in their gardens. They bring a little transistor radio, little pocket radio, and they play NHK. You can hear the sound of it's a very Japanese thing to see an old man or woman gardening with the sound of NHK, just like kind of like it'd be like listening to PBS or the National Public Radio or something like that. But it's not as it's different from PBS. It's more old school in a way. PBS being the United States Public Broadcasting System, where you can listen to reliable, interesting programs without any commercials ostensibly, although they do fit in sponsor ads that sound like a little bit like commercials. But anyway, listening to a podcast like Dave's podcast yesterday, his dispatches from the Noto, his summer road trip with his wife and son over to the Noto Peninsula on the west coast of Japan was a very good use of time. And again, I felt like I was on the other side. I felt like I was in a place where um, you need a you need to be, instead of being this height to get in, like a ride at an amusement park, you need to be this old. You need to be such so old. You need to be so experienced. You need to be so far. You need to be beyond the working years. You need to be beyond the parenting years. There's a number of different criteria. Ooh, that's really interesting to think about it that way. You need to beyond those criteria to be in that place, and it's not a place of fact. It's a place of situation. And I noticed it also as I turned then to some news. I do follow news. I'm not a very political animal. In fact, I do keep up with what's going on so that I can vote responsibly. But I don't. I certainly don't talk about it. But I do listen to the news, especially the news from back home. And I was listening to the pundits yesterday, and as well after I listened to Dave, because listening to news is another good thing to do in the garden. It's a very Japanese thing. And I was kept thinking about how the news was from a place far away, and it is, because I was listening to the American news, and beyond my scope now in terms of so many things, because not because it doesn't I don't care, but just because I'm 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 so distant from it. Again, even if I was in the States and gardening in the States, I probably would feel less distant, but still distant. So yesterday was a strange day. No journal today again. No journal. Day beyond, a day on the other side. A very peaceful day for sure. To be sure, to be sure. It's not quite like the peaceful, easy feeling that I had a couple of months ago, which was kind of like a warm up, kind of like a just a peaceful acceptance of place and of circumstance, and something earned, and it's like striving to get across a mountain range to what you think might be a peaceful meadow circumstance on the other side, and then getting there and finding it's just that. Well, now you're off on the other side of the mountainside, and you're in a peaceful meadow. You're, as we said, out to pasture. All right, to quickly go over my creed, because it's my prerogative to go fast or slow, and it seems like I always go fast. If you want to go slow yourself, you can do so by going to goingalone.org and reading the book yourself, particularly the chapter titled "The Good Life." My 8 objectives are: number 1, to be always ready to die, meaning that I need to have my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order, and they are. Number 2, to make good and effective use of my time. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, not hollow or rotten. 4, to cultivate good emotional reactions. 5, to perform good actions relative to my values. 6, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities. 7, to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8, to maintain my balance. You know, something I really could do today that would be a good use of time is to finally introduce my um, Good Life GPT, which I've been playing with for several weeks now, and astonishing how effective it is. It's a GPT, a custom AI that I created. I trained it on going alone. I trained it on the Good Life Creed, the aforementioned 8 objectives, and then the 35 principles, and it's become very good at doing it with. I am no longer needed in that capacity. I am furthermore on the other side. All right, I'm going to read from the book, uh, The Principle of Fun, which I added when I realized that my book was such a stodgy, stubbornly sober affair that it needed a little levity. So I added The Principle of Fun, Principle 34, second to last. The sub principles here are hope and retrospect, and a quote from the Bible. Then I commend mirth, because a man hath no better thing under the sun. This is Ecclesiastes 8:15. The principle of fun. Along the way, we might become overly focused on the pursuit of living well, such that we neglect to enjoy the fact that we are alive. Be gay, be jolly, have fun. Find friendship and community and family and things to do which might make us smile and laugh and sleep well and hard and with a smile on your face. Live such a life that the mortician must ask you your heirs if they wish him to wipe the death mask grin from your face before the funeral service begins. Bring to your death a good and happy life as a warm, fading spark of light and life glowing down into the seemingly infinite sea of darkness and gloom. I remember writing that, and I don't know that I could write like that anymore. That's a that was those words stumbled and tumbled out of my fingers as I typed them out, and I remember how easily they flowed and how actually accurately they captured my sentiment. Which that muse seems to be gone. The muse that I have now, that's quite effective, is pressed from me like sausage from a sausage mill. You have to grind it away to get it out, like like grating out Parmesan cheese on a salad. You know, it takes effort. Not like that. That's why, again, the season of philosophy, another one of my principles, speaks to writing the words when they came. I couldn't write like that anymore. Those words came without grinding. I didn't have to squeeze. They were just there. Interesting thing. Okay, as for today, the next 24 hours, I am hoping to have another such day as yesterday. I would very much enjoy living a lifetime of remaining days such as yesterday. It was a very good day on the other side, including with no journal entry. Although I do kind of miss the sense of seeking after eloquence that comes of journaling. It's a fun thing. It's like the good feeling that comes maybe when for a dancer as they dance and they can feel their body nimble and capable. That's how it feels when I journal. It's fun to do that. But sometimes, no, not sometimes. Just recently, just yesterday, starting yesterday, I think it's time to put the pen down for a while, or maybe for good. I don't know. All right, enough of all of that. Oh, did I not mention? I did not mention. Emily and Tatsuya will be here this weekend. It's Emily's birthday month, and she'll come by to visit. We haven't seen her for a long time. She's been traveling all over the place. She's been in all over Japan. She was in Singapore. She was in Hawaii. She was all for her job. Um, can't wait to see her and catch up. And Tatsuya too. I look forward to catching up with the two of them. They'll be here on the weekend. They just sent us a message while Yumiko and I were having dinner last night. Hello, Tim. Good morning to you. Weather check for the UK at 8:33 p.m. is 13.6 C and 87% humidity. An overcast day, unseasonably warm day. Think we're into an Indian summer. Same thing is happening here. I've actually got the window open. I was astonished how warm it is. If I look outside, it says it's about, I think it's about 12 degrees and about what is that, about 60% humidity. What did you say? Yeah. Wow. So you're a little more humid than I am, but it's almost just a little cooler. And inside, well, inside the room here, it says it's 20 degrees. Wow. Yeah. Indian summer to be sure. Neil, hi Neil. Morning all on day 4 of my retirement. Well, congratulations, Neil. Welcome to the club. How's it going? I must imagine it's still in the euphoria feeling, huh? But still, now hopefully it persists. A lot of us find there's a cyclic, there's phases to this retirement thing. So, but let's not talk about that. Let's just celebrate the fact that you're here now. I mean, these phases are good, right? I mean, it's the sign of, it's like growing into something, right? It's like moving to a new town, right? I mean, there's exciting stuff and then there's challenging stuff along the way, but overall, on the balance, it's just wonderful. I mean, sure as hell, I almost cussed, right? I sure as fuck wouldn't want to go back to what I was living before compared to this, right? Right? Can I get a hallelujah, Tim? Yeah, so welcome, Neil. It's good to have your company here. Let's all get together down at the donut store for coffee at 5:30 in the morning. Tim says, I was going to say semi-retired, Kurt, but unsure if you're working each day. I'm working Monday through, well, my plan is to the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock hour, Monday through Friday is my working hour. So yeah, I guess I don't know what that would be. Sarah, hi Sarah. Good morning to Sarah says good morning to myself, Tim, and Neil. Evelyn, hey, hello Evelyn. Good morning to you, or good afternoon, evening where you are. Hi Kurt, Tim, and Neil. Cheers to your retirement, indeed. And Evelyn, another one of our retirement club people like me, flirting around the edges of working a little bit here and there on the side. Evelyn says hello to Sarah. Sarah says hello to Evelyn. Neil says hi. Thanks, Evelyn. Tim says, interesting on keeping your hand in the working world. I have my week's groceries delivered at home to home, and nearly all the delivery drivers are my age, retired, but do the delivery as a little job. I'm going to just do a little bit of an aside here, Tim. I want to tell you about a particular man that I remember when we were living in Huntington Beach. This is before we last home we had before we came here. This was maybe 3 years ago, and there's a Trader Joe's, which is kind of like a very boutique but very approachable. It's a wonderful, probably the best grocery store in the world, I can imagine. Trader Joe's. I don't know if you have them in the UK, but they're absolutely astonishing. Extraordinary selection, small little grocery store, and the happiest staff you'll ever know. They treat their staff really well, very well paid. They've got benefits and everything like that. It's just the company that runs Trader Joe's is great. Anyway, there was a man there who was my age, a little, maybe 2 or 3 years older than me, and he's kind of like the executive looking type, the kind you can know the type, they'd have to look like they were sat around in boardrooms and stuff like that. And he was uh, doing the checkout, and I would come a week after week, and I would get to know him because they're really friendly at Trader Joe's. They for some reason their staff always ask, so what have you got any plans for the afternoon? What are you gonna do? You're gonna go surfing? What are you gonna do? Right. So we always talk. The company encourages that. I learned that he had retired. Um, 3 years ahead of his wife, and he had decided that while waiting for his wife to retire, he wanted to keep active. So he got this job at Trader Joe's, and I he was just having so much fun, and he loved working at Trader Joe's because it had the atmosphere of fun anyway, right? And he was working, and they pay good, they pay well, and having a great old time. And I would see him week after week because he worked on the weekends when Yumiko and I went shopping there. And I always thought of him as a kind of a model of if you choose to work in retirement, then he's what I want to be, right? He's what I want to be. So hopefully I can pull that off with this job because I'm really having fun. This another aside from my job is it's bearing fruit exactly as I'd hoped. All of my 100% of my students are adults who are pretty damn good in English. I'm not teaching grammar or vocabulary. We're just swapping stories. It really is sharing, swapping stories with adults at the donut shop in English, and I'm telling them little grammar bits. And the technology of the company that I'm using, they have their own proprietary classroom interface that we use. It's really well set up. The training materials are there if we want to use them. I can type in the notes, see it, and it's really really a good company. I'm having a lot of fun. Let's see if that sticks and stays. So yeah, Tim, your delivery drivers showing up being your age. Um, Maybe with a smile on their face, enjoying getting out, making a few extra bucks on the side, right? Maybe that's like my Trader Joe's former board member, right? I don't know what he did, but he looked like a board member. Tim says hi to Evelyn, Sarah, and Neil. Um, Tim says about regarding the delivery drivers. I asked the delivery drivers why they do the job after they're retired. Most answer because the wife wants me out of the house. LOL. Can't tell if they're joking or not. That's a big thing here. In Japan, the paradigm is still for a lot of the women are housewives, and they get really frustrated because especially because Japanese men are so spoiled, they don't do anything, so they get tired of having this big baby around, and you can see during the middle of the day all these retired Japanese men strolling about in their nice fashion with their little handbags at the park, because their wife doesn't want them at home. But I don't think a lot of them get jobs because it just isn't a thing. Sometimes you see old guys doing stuff, but a lot in Japan, they kind of like you really are put out to pasture. Japan is kind of like that. In fact, the woman that I was talking to that yesterday from the company, she was like, why? She was asking me about my daughter. She was like, why would your daughter, if your daughter has the ability to work in the United States, why would she work here? And I knew what she meant, right? Because of the work culture here. So why the hell would, why would if they had a choice, why would they work in Japan? She was stunned. And I had to scratch my head and go, yeah, that's a good question. Well, fortunately, Emily can go back if she wants. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. I mean, for all its challenges in America, America's a good place. When employment's good, it's good. Sarah says, I always imagined if I was to win the lottery, not that I ever buy the tickets. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'll never win because I never buy. I would still want to keep working, maybe not full time, but I think it can be helpful for keeping ties to the community. It's also a different mindset when you don't feel the heavy burden of having no option to need to work to put food on the table, roof over the head. What you said, exactly, Sarah. That's sums it up all in a nutshell. There, I enjoy this 9 to 10 o'clock fires my morning up, right? I mean, I feel like I'm headed for something because before that, my big event in the morning was this, and then radio exercise, and then after that, I'm kind of coasting for the rest of the day, which yeah, I'm doing okay. I have my days that I'm not doing okay. There's days that I'm sitting here on the sofa, you know, doom. I'm not much of a doom scroller, but I'll find myself suddenly. I like arm wrestling videos. I'm a fangirl of this guy, Devin Larratt from Canada. He's this big, burly guy that just is just this icon of arm wrestling. And I'll find myself, my version of doom scrolling is watching shorts on YouTube of a Devin Larratt arm wrestling other guys. And I'm astonished at the arm wrestling world. And I'll find myself doing that for half an hour. And I'm going, what am I doing? What am I doing? I grab Rudy and we go out and we go for a walk, right? But having my little 1 hour of job so far, and 2 weeks into it, I sit down and I do that. Like I'll do it today. I'll have two. I have two students today from 9 to 10. I'll do that and I come out the other side, and then it's in my office hour for Discord, and I sit in Discord from 10 to 10:30, and then from 10 so from 10:30 to 10 to 10:30, and then I've got a half an hour, and then we're winding up for lunch, and then I've got the afternoon and garden, walk the dog, whatever. Right? I mean, you're right, Sarah. Sarah, you summed it up quite nicely. Tim says, it's an interesting thought working again after you retire, but unsure for me anyways, coming up on 3 years next April. I would find it very hard to get back into that working mindset. I'm in no way endorsing it one way or the other, Tim. I would not encourage a retired person to do this unless they felt like there was some good utility to it. In my case, I'm literally setting up a backup. I started this to establish a backup form of income to get me to Social Security, right? Because I'm what 7 months away from starting Social Security. Oh, get this. So the you know another piece of good news: the Japanese government reached out to my wife, and they were like, this last week, and oh, by the way, my Japanese government. Oh, by the way, did you know that you're qualified for our Social Security too? So it looks like Kimiko's gonna be. So we were like, can you do that? Is that double dipping? It's not. You can do that. The United States and Japan have this thing called a totalization agreement, Social Security totalization agreement, which means that if you split your career between the two countries, like we've done, and you find yourself not having enough credits with either Japan or America to be eligible for Social Security with one or the other, then what you can do is you can move. This is great. I mean, a lot of countries apparently have this. You can move your credits from one to the other to catch up, right? So if you spent 8 years working in Japan and the rest of your career working in the United States, and you didn't quite have the 40 credits to qualify for Social Security in America, well, you can reach back to Japan and grab the credits and bring them over to America, and then you've got enough. Isn't that cool? But if it turns out that you have enough credits for both systems, then you can get both. I mean, I don't think that's double dipping. That's basically putting in your dues in both systems, right? So we were surprised. We didn't think that she was eligible for that, and they reached out to her and said, "Hey, knock, knock, knock. Are you ready to start your Social Security?" So, what do you know? That's going to really help. But see, all of that is, we're still some time away from that. And we had budgeted for this whole move to Japan to buy the house and the car and then furnish it and get settled and everything like that. And I've told this story before, and I had forgotten that when we were extracting money from my 401k, that the United States government was taking their 20% up front. I didn't see that coming. And then suddenly we were we reached the end of summer, and I'm like, wait a minute, now we don't have enough money to make it to Social Security, right? So so I set up this. Now I do have a plan of action to do it. We can do it, but I don't wanted a backup. I wanted a backup plan, because just in case my scheming, because if survey says Kurt's scheming plans sometimes fall through. They don't work. Like, witness the fact that I didn't see the 20%. So I thought, well, maybe it would be a good idea to set up an alternate form of income, uh, just in case. And that's why I got this job. So I did this. So again, I'm swinging all the way back to say that, Tim, I would certainly never recommend anybody to get a retired person to get a job. Neil, this goes for you too, unless you want to, unless they want to for some reason. There's some compelling reason, and in this case, I have a compelling reason. I want to make sure that we have liquidity until Social Security kicks in, and that's what this is. Bonus was I discovered, as Sarah said, that showing up for work without the cattle prod at my back, and only for an hour a day, and doing it timed in the morning, is a stimulating thing. It's not an interference. It feels really good so far. It doesn't feel that way, and I've been really enjoying it. So it's really nice for that fact. Go back a little bit. Tim says definitely work is great if you're 100% enjoying it. I think you're right, Robert. Oh, you got the job. Oh, Robert. Hi, Robert. Robert says, well, you got the job. Congrats, Kurt. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. Yeah, I got the job. Tim says, I had my groceries delivered earlier this evening, and the delivery driver is a retired policeman. They are from all walks of life. Now that you're mentioning it, that kind of that Amazon delivery driver or something like that sounds like a really good use of time in retirement, because once it's physical, it, moving around. Once it's cerebral, scheduling things out. It's social, meeting people along the way. Plus, if you're a man, you get to be that hot guy showing up at the beauty salon with the package. What movie was that from? Oh, Legally Blonde. Remember that? Legally Blonde, and then there was the beautician. Was that Legally Blonde? I think it was Legally Blonde. And then the UPS driver would show up, and then they were practicing the the bend and snap. You guys remember that? I only remember that because Legally Blonde was Emily's favorite movie, and we would watch that a lot. So yeah, that seems like a good job. Robert, hi Robert, says hi to myself, Tim, Robert, Sarah, Neil, and Evelyn. So comprehensive. You all are so comprehensive in your greetings. It's so nice. Inclusive, I think, is the word. Um, Robert says currently 42 degrees Fahrenheit, 100% humidity. 100% humidity. What are you swimming? Wow, AQI, isn't that funny that you can be at 100%? And I wonder. I have to chat GPT and understand why 100% doesn't mean you're underwater. AQI is 23 in Napanee, Ontario, Canada. Robert, it's 12 here, and it looks like it's about 55% humidity. Now the sun's coming up enough I can see. 12 degrees outside. I've got thermometer inside. 20 degrees inside. Did I tell you guys I've discovered my house has insulation? Because I'm wondering, because why is it 20 and 12 outside? It's because my house. I don't know. Japanese houses don't have insulation, but I was putting a nail in the wall. It has insulation on the external walls, and I drilled a hole in through the drywall stuff, and when I pulled it out, a whole bunch of fiberglass insulation came out. My house is insulated. What do you know? Um, no, that's a big thing, because usually Japanese homes aren't. It's a good house, well built. This is a hand built. This is like a custom made house. It wasn't built by a big builder. It was made by a one off builder that was a resident of this neighborhood. His family business was building houses, and so there's a couple of houses in the neighborhood that were built by this one man. I know that because the contractor we hired to do the contract work, knew. He looked at it. And he says, "Oh, that's a Jensen house, right? I don't remember what the name was. That's an Inoue house, right? Because your house was built by, I know the guy that built your house, the family." All right. There was we did some addition work on the house, and the guy that did the addition work didn't do quite as good a job. We might choose to do a little work on the outside down here that was kind of shoddily done. So, but that'll come later. But overall, the house seems to be very well constructed. Sarah says hi to Robert. Tim says hi to Robert. Tim says, I think maybe the first 12 to 18 months into retirement, I could have still returned to some form of work. But I think as more time passes, I think it does get that bit harder to do. Everyone is different. I agree. Tim, I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for my solvency issue, right? I mean, I would, no, 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 I would not be doing that. I'm just kind of pleasantly surprised that I seem to be enjoying it. Sarah's laughing. Sarah, are you laughing at the bend and snap? Robert says, Kurt, I didn't try delivering for Amazon. I did try delivering for Amazon for a day. It was a third party company, but I didn't like having to drive to a different city to do it. The route was well planned. This being said, it's raining here. This could be the reason. This could be the reason. Ah, yeah, I guess you have to drive in weather, right? Sarah says, you got yourself a good house. We did get ourselves a good house. I'm really astonished at how well maintained it is. You know, we did hire. I think I told you guys we hired after we bought it. Normally, our plan was to have whatever house we were going to buy professionally inspected before we bought it, which is the due diligence thing. But this house came on the market. We knew it wasn't going to last. It's in. I mean, it's in. I mean, this is an. I still can't believe the 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 that we got this house. I mean, the land. There's lots of land the same size as our land going for sale here for double without a house on it, double the price now. And when we bought this, like just 2 hours before we got it, we made a full price offer. We saw this, we went down, we made a full price offer, and we got accepted for the offer within an hour. And then like 2 hours after that, an above price offer came in. And the Japanese don't work that way. The realtors, once the first offer has been agreed to, even if an above price offer comes in, they just it's on the honor system. They won't take it. So it was ours. So as a result, we didn't get it inspected. So we did get it inspected after the fact because we wanted to know what kind of mess we got ourselves into. And the inspector basically said, "You got a good house. You know, there's this one little bit of shoddy work on the side that you probably want to have fixed later on, but otherwise it's a good house. Now it's not solid. It was built in '83, so I mean the big earthquake is coming. This house might go down in that big earthquake. I mean, it's not like these newer houses that are going to survive, and we're prepared for that. We actually have a contingency plan. If this house goes down, we have a plan. We'll just go back to living in an apartment and then get it fixed up if we can, right? If not, then I guess we'll sell it. You know, if we can't afford it as retirees, if we can't afford it to rebuild it or something like that. But we won't be homeless if the house goes down, if we survive, right? Because the big one's coming. You got it. So Sarah, I guess says yes. I guess you like the bend and snap. Isn't that a great scene? That guy was coming in, that UPS guy. So yeah, I mean, us old guy. Maybe if we still got a little bit of swagger left, we can Tim, we can and we can and we can get the shorts on and go in and do the UPS deliveries. Be on the lookout for the bend and snap. I think the house found you both. It was meant to be. It certainly was serendipity, that, you know, it certainly did happen fast. I mean, Yumiko told me about it over dinner. She said, "Hey, there's a house the realtor says we should go look at." We walked up after dinner, and by the time it was time for dessert, we'd bought it. I mean, literally, we went through the whole process within 4 hours. Um, we had bought ourselves a house. Amazing. Robert says the big one has triggered memories of the TV show Sanford and Son. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. Yes, the big one. All right, guys. With that, I'll go ahead and drop off. Thanks for keeping me a little company. I feel a little more energetic. I slept for an hour extra this morning. I woke up at 5 instead of 4. This is kind of nice. Maybe I'll have a little more energy through the day. It was always nice to talk to all of you. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me and hearing about the day. This is one of the highlights of the day for me. Thank you, Robert. Thanks, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye bye.